This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English, episode number 231, baby. Oh yeah. In today's episode I actually speak to someone this time, not like the last podcast that came out. And I speak to Charlie Baxter from the British English podcast. Yes, he has been on here before. I think only one other person has been invited back on the show after appearing on. So congratulations to him for that. And we speak about the differences between the UK and Australia, okay? I haven't really got anything else to say, so I will speak to you again at the end. But remember, all of the vocab you can find at rockandrollenglish.com/episode 231, baby. I will speak to you again at the end. Happy listening. Hello, Charlie, and welcome again to Rock and Roll English. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, it's lovely to be back. It's exciting. I also feel like I know you a lot better than I probably should do, just because I've been doing a podcast for the amount of time that we last spoke. So I feel like we're brothers in that fact that we're podcast hosts.
I feel you. Remember that vocabulary? We had that a few weeks ago. Like I completely understand you. Podcast brothers. I like it. Maybe we can call ourselves that.
Yeah.
See how that goes. Yeah.
Maybe get some bands or tattoos or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Get one each. Exactly.
Of each other's logos.
There's a grammatical mistake in my logo, so maybe you might want to fix that. I'm sure everyone knows this, but Charlie actually lives in Australia, don't you? You're from the UK, but you currently live in Australia. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, I've been here 2 years to the date, pretty much. Yeah, we landed 2 years ago yesterday.
Oh, wow, almost anniversary there.
Yeah.
Just missed it, but never mind. I went there for 6 weeks in 2008, so I'm pretty much an expert as well. So I thought we could talk about Australia, maybe some differences between Australia and the UK, okay?
Yeah, like it.
So the one thing I noticed in Australia, there's lots and lots of nature. They love the nature there, don't they?
They do. Yeah, they do. I do now. I'm a sucker for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I very much like to stay. Well, I do enjoy being in the nature. The problem is that things come with nature of like animals, insects, and this kind of thing, which kind of scares me a little bit. I mean, I'm scared of dogs. So, for example, when I was in Australia, we went to Fraser Island, which in my research I found out is the largest sand island in the world. Okay. And when we were there to to do a shit, I think we were there 3 days. So obviously, a human need in 3 days, you need to do a shit. And they said, take a spade with you, and you basically had to make a hole and shit in the hole, sand hole, obviously. And they said this spade, they said, will also come in handy, so will also be useful if you see a dingo. It's like a wild dog that could attack you. So there was me with my trousers and pants down. Like I said, I'm scared of normal dogs, and I'm worried that this dingo is going to come and bite off my penis. Oh, my God.
I hope it didn't.
I know. So I've just had a child, mate. So that's all still intact, luckily. So that's all still fine. So that's why I don't like it. But you say you like it, yeah?
Yeah, I like Australia. I don't like dingoes and I don't like shitting in holes. But generally, most people who live in cities in Australia don't need to fend off dingoes with a spade every night or morning, depending on your routine. But yeah, I have actually been to that island, and I did have a warning about dingoes, especially coming into your tents, and snakes as well, like the sleeping bag. They like the end of the sleeping bag, so you've got to keep your tent shut. which is pretty scary, to put your feet all the way in and your whole body is therefore in the sleeping bag, and then you'd feel the snake at the end of it. That would be terrible, wouldn't it?
I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about, because when I was in Australia, I mean, I can't specifically remember that, but that was because I had so much information of don't do this because there are sharks, spiders, jellyfish, snakes, crocodiles. I even remember when I was there was a specific tree and they said don't touch this tree because you can get like some kind of skin thing and you can die. And I remember thinking, is there anything I can do in this country that doesn't involve risking my life?
That's hilarious. I remember when Harry, my YouTube partner, came to visit me in Australia, we told him a myth that I was told by my cousin who lives over here, and he enjoyed telling me this myth and I fell for it, that there are these creatures called drop bears, and they're a mix between koalas and vicious, really vicious, like brown bears, and they're in the trees.
They just drop from the trees.
They just drop from the trees and they eat you alive, like with these really strong fangs. There's even Google images of these photoshopped koalas with these fangs. And I told Harry that, and he was really scared of every tree that we went under. And then only when he got back to England, I told him that it wasn't true. Yeah, so I look at it like Australia do this deliberately to fend off tourists, or not tourists because they like that, but they don't want people to live here. They want us to come, enjoy it, get petrified, and then go home and leave them to their own paradise. Because I think it is a bit of paradise, and especially, you know, your day-to-day life living in a city. I actually feel not sad, but I just would like to be reminded a bit more that I'm in Australia, that I haven't come across any horrible creatures recently.
Okay. Yeah. Well, lucky you, because the point you just made there, that they like to scare people, that was very much what happened with me, because when I kind of touched down, so when I arrived back in the UK, I was kind of just like, oh, thank God, just like nothing here. I can just walk around without a snake coming into my bed, or I can touch trees as well. All I was hugging them. I became a tree hugger when I got back to the UK. I was like, this tree is not going to kill me. We are one. So yeah, although saying that about they enjoy tourists coming, when I actually arrived, I was very much interrogated at the airport with the content of my bag, and yeah, I remember getting lots of questions, especially about drugs as well. They were like, I remember that one of them said to me, like, have you got any drugs? So I was obviously going to say, yeah, loads. I've got like 200 kilos of cocaine in there. Is that a problem? But so obviously I said no. And then he said, it's okay to take drugs. And
what?
I was like, okay. And he said, so have you taken any drugs? And I said, no. And, if this was his tactic to try and I don't know, there's some drug lord and his tactic is it's okay to take drugs, and the drug lord says, oh, okay, yeah, I have got 200 kilos of cocaine in there. It was very strange. I was again being very scared. So not only the animals were scaring me, even as soon as I arrived at the airport, I was getting interrogated, which was very scary.
I remember that, and I remember I didn't have the it's okay to take drugs conversation, but they did say, have you got any soil on your trainers?
I had exactly the same thing, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know the last time I washed them. It's
a good point. Yeah. It's about the protecting the wildlife and the organisms and whatever the correct word, bacteria in the soil coming to life again in Australia, because it's an island and very isolated. So they've got to be quite protective of other things coming in. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it was a very, very warm welcome for when I went. So that kind of set the scene for they scared me at the airport, and I was I didn't sleep a wink the whole time I was there. I was just worrying a snake was going to come in my bed or something like that. So another thing about Australia is they love a Barbie, okay? And I'm not talking about the doll like Barbie and Ken. A Barbie is in a barbecue. Is this right? Because when I was there, actually, because I didn't spend much time with actually local people, is this true, or is it a myth?
Yeah, no, it is true. I made a bit of a faux pas. I brought my own little Barbie doll to a Barbie because I got confused by the Barbie invite. No, that's a lie. But it would be funny to put a Barbie on a Barbie, and then
You should do that next time you go. See how that goes down.
that would be good. Yeah, they do really like it. They have it often at Christmas. They'll have a Barbie, which is very peculiar for us, isn't it?
Yeah, this was another thing on my list for us. Like, what is that about? Like that must be strange.
They'll also have fish, and I've realised obviously the climate changes the culture, and it makes sense not to have a big roast, because my sister, she's out here and she's quite stubborn, and she wanted her traditional Christmas finally after having her own house built, and she had the family round. She's like, right, we're going to have a traditional UK British Christmas, and we came round and it was boiling hot. It was like 40 degrees, and you do not want to stuff yourself with turkey and stuffing when it's 40 degrees out and you're just sweating standing there. So I think it makes sense to have different food in that climate.
Yeah, I like that idea as well. That's good. Same here in Italy. You've got very much specific rules for these kind of things. They seem to understand the weather. Whilst in England, because it's never so hot, it's just like you could just eat whatever, really.
It's true.
Whilst here, it's like, no, this is like cold weather food and hot weather food.
Yeah.
Whilst, we don't really have that so much. But speaking of barbecues, another thing I noticed there is lots of Australian men and big and muscly, like the perfect when you think of a man operating a barbecue, because you need a real man to operate a like, I would never trust myself operating a barbecue ever. I love going to a barbecue, but I'm very much there, taking part, having a few beers, eating the food. But there's always a big muscly man operating it, and that's what I saw a lot of in Australia, like muscly men like going to the beach, maybe like surfing, like long hair, a guy called Brad that says like cowabunga kind of thing. So there's lots of them. Is that right or no? Do you feel, you've got a pretty good body actually. Do you feel, I certainly felt inadequate with my shirt off.
No, this camera's doing wonders. I feel also inadequate whenever near a barbecue, but I actually got taught by my brother-in-law how to turn a barbecue on and just do the basic things. And I realized how bloody easy it is. And it's just, we're scared of it. That's all. It's kind of like Home Alone and the base kind of moment.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fire, at school, you don't have fire drills for nothing to like tell you what to do when there's a fire. Like, when that's gone, someone's like starts the barbecue, I'll like walk outside and get in line like we used to do at school. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah. Definitely.
So
yeah, the fire drills.
So yeah, I don't trust myself at all. So another thing I saw is that 90% of Australians live by the coast, which that's great. Like, so 9 out of 10 people in Australia live pretty much by a beach. So surfing is big. Have you tried that?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, most of the middle of Australia is pretty much inhabitable. It's desert land, a lot of it. And then obviously you got the drop bears to look out for in the forests and stuff. So yeah, they stick to the beach. I have tried surfing. When I got here, I assumed everyone would be surfing, and therefore
that's my idea as well of Australia.
Yeah. And I got to Sydney, and I did start, and I had 5 lessons, and I was loving it. And then I settled into the inner west of Sydney, which actually takes about, on a good run, 40 minutes to the beach. And I was like to my mate, all right, we're going to go surfing on Thursday, and we're going to do it every week. And he was like, yeah, but we're a bit far away. And I was annoyed with that concept because I'd flown 24 hours or something. I was like, we're fucking close to the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
French. But after 2 years of being here, I haven't been surfing for a year now. What a shame.
Wow.
What a shame.
Yeah, what a shame indeed. I tried it when I was there as well, but spent a lot of the time, again, nearly dying and being like pulled along with the water and like thinking I'm going to die, and then like just getting my head above the water, like gasping for air. And I did that for about half an hour. And then I just kind of thought to myself, I could continue doing this, or I could just sit on the beach and have a beer. Yeah. And then I went for the latter option in the end.
Yeah, I think it's a good option. I actually, come to think of it, my last lesson wasn't successful, and I got washed around a lot. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it, and I came away thinking, I'm not keen for next week.
Exactly. I'm not desperate to go back, because it feels like someone's literally holding your head under the water. Like, maybe I remember when I was a child and like there was a bigger kid at the swimming pool that would maybe, for a laugh, just like hold my head down for like a couple of seconds. It's kind of like that. So yeah, that, you know, that beer that I had on the beach was number one, a really unique experience, and number two, a great beer. That's
true.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I thought you were going to say when you were at school and a bigger kid gave you a bog wash. I thought you were going to say that vocabulary, but I've never experienced a bog wash, and I thought that was extremely harsh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like head in the toilet and
flushing it. Yeah,
flush in the toilet. Yeah, I've never seen that either. I never actually heard of that. It's something that I actually remember when I joined secondary school, them saying like, you know, this happens, and like being really scared. Kind of like the same thing of when you told Harry about these drop bears. I think it's just something they tell you to shit you up, to like scare you a lot. Because I mean, and as well, the condition of school toilets. I mean, you know, if someone was to put my head in like my toilet here now, you know, that's pretty clean. Wouldn't be the end of the world. But those school toilets, Jesus, like, I don't think you would survive.
It's true. It's worse than hugging a tree in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, God, yeah, definitely. I mean, that is something that I think would kill you with some of the diseases in there. But moving on. So when I was in Australia, I noticed that alcohol and chocolate are really, really, really expensive. So what do you do? Like, do you have to sort of think, you know, maybe I have to cut back on the beers to like drink less of them?
Yeah, it was exactly what we thought when we came here. And we had been living in Germany where it was like 50p for a good beer. And then, bit of an exaggeration, and then come here and it's like $6 for us equivalent or even more. We quickly thought, right, we're going to give up alcohol or just not drink much alcohol anymore. But I think over time, after stopping the surfing lessons, I had some money to splash.
Yeah.
No, I think in every country that I've lived in, it just changes. Like the expenses come from one area but don't another. Like eating out, it's not actually that expensive. I feel like there's other things that are cheaper that allow for the expense of the alcohol, if that makes sense. So
right, okay.
Things, it
evens itself out, kind of thing.
There you go. It evens itself out.
Speaking of beers, you have to correct me here. I think, was it called a schooner? Is that what it's
very
something
good?
Like that
Yeah.
They drink? Is that right?
Yeah, schooners. Yeah.
Which is kind of like, if I remember, like it seemed like even less than a half pint, like a tiny glass of beer. Is that right?
So a midi would be a half pint, like
a midi. Nice.
Midi, just middle, or like the Latin, is it? Would that be?
Okay.
What's
not 100% sure.
Probably not. Anyway, midi is half pint, and then schooner is 3/4 of a pint, roughly speaking.
Oh, three quarters, right?
Yeah.
Because when I arrived there, they said like, no, we drink these, and I was kind of like, no, I'm fucking English. I'm drinking a pint of beer. Like, I'm not going to look like an idiot, because like it's a thing in England. You go to a pub and you order a half pint of beer, like you look like a bit of an idiot, don't you? So I thought, no, I'm having a pint of beer, and they're like, yeah, but it gets really hot. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And then like got to the end of it, like drinking this warm beer and thinking, yeah, I think I might go for one of those schooners. They look pretty good, actually. Yeah,
I totally agree with it. And again, it's the climate forcing the culture and everything else. But I think I prefer a schooner now. I think I prefer the amount. It's a bit less intense. And it stays cool.
A pint is a ridiculous amount to drink, isn't it?
Yeah, of any other volume. Do you want a pint of tea? Do you want a pint of milk?
Exactly.
I mean, when I was younger, maybe a pint of milk, but still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is ridiculous. I don't know why. That's the sort of like
The
culture
norm.
in England, but it's just that mentality of like, I hadn't really even been out of England, I suppose, many times. I was like, no, look, I'm having a pint. It's got to be a pint.
Yeah, and 8 more of it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
crazy.
And the chocolate as well, like, not as much of a problem as alcohol, but I remember specifically once being in Australia, I was hungover, really wanted some chocolate, and I had to pay, I don't know, the equivalent of about £3 something for a Kit Kat, and
Wow.
it was difficult to do, but I was like, no, I really want this Kit Kat.
Did you say, give me a break?
Oh, lovely. Some Kit Kat gags there for anyone that's interested. So actually, on the alcohol thing, I forgot to mention this. There was this thing called goon as well in Australia. Is that something, I suppose, that just like young travellers drink? It was like disgusting wine.
Yeah,
from
really
memory.
cheap. Yeah, really cheap wine in a bag. Yeah, it's a bag of goon. And did you ever play the game Slap the Goon?
Possibly. I mean, I'm not 100% sure about this. I actually even thought, though, even then, that the goon was too disgusting. I didn't get along with it so
you had
well.
a sophisticated palate even at that age.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
nice. Yeah.
Exactly that. So, but do you still do these things, or is that just kind of like travellers kind of vibe?
Yeah, goon vanishes as soon as you put the backpack down, I think.
Yeah, once you get like real life, it's like the goon has to go.
Also, a lot of wineries around. So I've actually, in the last 2 months, become a wine snob. I hate to admit it,
right.
but I went for my birthdays for a wine tasting day, and we went around the Hunter Valley, and we were given like a driver with a minibus, and they just dropped us off at like 7 different wineries throughout the whole day. And I thought, this is ridiculous, especially because we started at 11 o'clock in the morning at a gin distillery. So it was straight gin at 11 a.m., which is a bit weird. But then from then on, it was wine. And we found some really nice bottles, and we've bought them. And we've got a wine rack that is like our wine cellar. We're like not wanting to use certain bottles. I've never thought I'd have this in my life. But yeah, we're not. We're like, save it for a special occasion.
Okay,
like,
right.
Who are we?
That is, I mean, that's a sign of age, I think. That's the rock and roll lifestyle of over 30. I think you maybe just 30. Is that right?
31. Yeah, I'll take it.
31.
I'll take it.
Okay,
but God,
yeah, exactly.
Imagine what I'll be like in 5 years when I'm 36. I'll be such a tosser.
Exactly. Such a great word, tosser. I suppose, let's say, a strong way to say idiot. Very British.
Yeah, I'd say it's a perfect middle ground between idiot and wanker.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Tosser, yeah. Yeah, I would say it's in the middle. Yeah, in the middle. Closer to wanker than idiot. But,
yeah, true.
Yeah. So the last thing I've got here, actually, so tell me if this is true, because when I was in Australia, I remember, so on 2 occasions, this was in 6 weeks, having a bit of aggro, so having a bit of some problems, let's say, with some local Australians that weren't too keen on the English. Actually, another thing that just popped into my mind is they're very strict on letting you into places. I remember I got refused entry on more than one occasion for being too drunk and thinking I wasn't even particularly drunk.
Where were you? What city or what state?
Various places down the standard East Coast route. Yeah, certainly in Sydney, I got refused. I remember that one quite clear. I mean, I was actually in a bar, and I'd had a few drinks, sure, but I wasn't doing, I don't think, anything ridiculous. Okay, I was having a bit of difficulty controlling my head. It was kind of moving from left to right, but I was keeping myself to myself. I wasn't disturbing anyone, and got thrown out. And I was like, what's this about?
I'm a rock and roller. Come on.
Exactly. It's like, Jesus. So that was something else. But yeah, this thing of like, do they hate the English? Is this true? Or was I just unlucky a couple of times? Because I want to say, met some other Australian people that were obviously absolutely fine. We've even got some Australian friends that live here. But in general, is that a thing or no?
I think it's a light kind of a slight stereotype. Sorry, because they have this nickname for us, the Pommies. I don't know if I said that last time. Yeah,
okay,
Pommy,
yeah.
Prisoner of the motherland.
I didn't actually know that's what it meant. Okay, or maybe you told me last time and I forgot.
I can't remember, but I do tell it to people, and everyone's like, "Oh, I didn't know what that." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Moving on." Yeah.
That's one of those things where you, like, interesting fact at a party, and I was like, "Oh, wow, he's intelligent, isn't he?" He reads books.
Oh, would you like some wine, madam? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So they do have that, and we came from America before Germany, and they loved our accent, and they were just so besotted by it. They were like, "Oh, you're English, oh, so good." And then to Australia, they were like, "Oh, you're a Pommy, are you? Oh yeah, coming over here thinking you're all that or something." So we got a little bit of that, but since settling in, we haven't had any kind of noticeable anything kind of dodgy.
Well, I think it's just the standard thing of you get idiots everywhere, don't you? That's, I think, in every country, you're always going to find some idiot. So this idiot that I found in Australia, so I was talking to some English friends, they heard us and basically came over. And I remember, I'm not going to try the Australian accent, but basically at one point said to me, "I don't give a shit about the Queen." And I was like, "Neither do I. What do you fucking think?" Like, because I'm English, like I just worship the Queen. Yeah,
I think some of them have this priority of having like no class system, so they call it an egalitarian system, not having any.
That word's too long for me.
Yeah, it took me a while to get it. They've told me it many times. Egalitarian, yeah. So no hierarchy, basically. They all want to believe that they're all capable of the same thing, and there's no structure.
I'm with them. I like that. I'm very much
So they look at the UK or us Pommies as having that class system, and we're so structured in that we can't think of anything else. Some of them,
right? Okay.
So maybe they have that chip on their shoulder of thinking they think they're better than us.
Right. Okay. If only this person that I spoke to had explained it like you, maybe we could have actually become friends, because I share a lot of those similar ideas. But unfortunately, his aggressive tone, he didn't really. And I was very much, again, shitting my pants. So I basically spent 6 weeks in Australia shitting my pants. But great experience nonetheless. Hope to come out and see you soon, actually. Yeah.
Watch out for those drop bears.
Yeah, we'll go and get those tattoos together, okay? Anyway, it's been a pleasure as always, Charlie. Thanks for coming on. Obviously, I'll put this in the show notes, etc., but it's the standard procedure. If anyone doesn't know Charlie, where can they find out more about you, your podcast?
Absolutely, yeah. It was a pleasure. Really, really fun. So the British English Podcast is the podcast that I'm doing. I have a YouTube channel called Real English with Real Teachers with Harry. And the main website that I put in all of my love into is thebritishenglishpodcast.com. That's where you can go to find me. I'm also on Instagram on the British English Podcast.
Exactly. But like I said, we'll all be in the show notes. Okay, well, thanks a lot, Charlie, and we'll see you soon.
No worries. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay, so that was me speaking to Charlie about the differences between the UK and Australia. Now, there was lots and lots and lots of vocab that I kind of forgot to mention during the episode, which you'll be able to find at rockandrollenglish.com/episode 231. But because there is so much, and I don't want the podcast to be too long, I'm just going to explain the 5 most R&R pieces of vocab we had today. So Charlie said that he doesn't really need to fend off dingoes. Okay, so when you fend someone off, it's when you kind of defend yourself from an attack. So think of this, a dingo, the wild dog. You're doing a shit in a hole. The dog tries to attack you and you fend it off. He also then used this term again, saying how at border control they try to fend off tourists. Again, Stop the attack. Who are these horrible tourists coming on with mud on their shoes? I also mentioned how when I was in Australia, I didn't sleep a wink. Now, I'm sure you understand that phrase, but I just want to highlight it to you because it's a lovely way to say I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep a wink. Charlie also used some kind of French vocabulary when he said I made a faux pas when I took a Barbie to a Barbie. So the Barbie doll to a barbecue. Confusing for me as well, that one. So this term, I literally had never heard this. I only actually noticed it when I listened to the podcast again. A faux pas. So to make a faux pas means to do something embarrassing, let's say, in a social situation. The social situation in this case being a barbecue. And the stupid, embarrassing thing he did was bring a Barbie doll, okay? So he made a faux pas. Really posh vocabulary, that. Although it's only 2 syllables, I still didn't actually know that because it's kind of French. I also used a term at the end when I said when I got thrown out of the pub or bar or whatever it was in Sydney, I said I was keeping myself to myself. A lovely term to say I wasn't bothering anyone. Just, when you go somewhere new, just keep yourself to yourself and no one will bother you. And another term that Charlie used was when he said that Americans were so besotted with his British accent. So when you are besotted with something, you are completely in love. Okay, we use this for maybe someone that has children. I'm besotted, I've had a child, something like that. Or Americans speaking about British accents. Anyway, the rest of the vocabulary is at rockandrollenglish.com/episode 231, and I will obviously be going through this with Rock and Roll English family members. So I will see you all soon, people. I have a kind of surprise for you, actually, later today or tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.